Well, good morning, everyone. Glad to see your smiling faces this morning. It's always a pleasure to come to these Gateway Medical Society Community Symposiums. So, welcome to Gateway Medical Society Cares Community Access to Resources and Educational Support Healthcare Symposium. My name is Morris Turner. I am a program coordinator for the Journey to Medicine program, which is a program that exposes our inner city youth to the field of medicine. Today's program will feature speakers on healthy relationships, Pittsburgh Public Schools resources, and have a live broadcast of Minority Health Matters hosted by Lynn Hayes Freeland and our Journey to Medicine students on black male suicide. We would like to thank our sponsors, being UPNC, the Highmark Foundation, and CCAC for their continued support in bringing health awareness to our communities. We would also like to thank our partners, the AKAs, Chi Eta Phi, the Pittsburgh Black Nurses in Action, the Pittsburgh chapter of the Links, and Sisters Saving Ourselves Now for their continued support. Our speakers today, I want to introduce you to Mr. Matthew Grayson. Matthew is a supervisor of the men's and educational programs for the Women's Center and Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh. A graduate of Robert Morris University, Matthew is extremely intelligent. Matthew holds degrees a BSBA, an MBA, a Master of Education and Master of Psychology degree from Carlow University. That's a tongue twister right there. Congratulations, brother. All right. Matthew has worked at WCCS for 3 years, starting as an educational facilitator, where he visited Pittsburgh Public Schools and numerous teen programs to give teen dating violence presentations. Matthew headed the IPV Homeless Provider Program, where he gave trainings on the basics of domestic violence and how to recognize the red flags in a domestic violence situation to frontline staffers of homeless providers throughout the country. Matthew has over 20 years of experience in sports. He's coached sports on all levels, including the NFL, college, high school, and youth sports. Matthew is passionate about helping people in all walks of life because that is what life is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Matthew Grayson.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Put on my timer because if I don't, I will talk over time allotted. Yes, all those degrees, yeah, it may look like I'm intelligent, but it signifies that I got a lot of student debt. So. But thank you. Yeah, I enjoy, I want to thank you for allowing me to come because what I'm going to talk about this morning is very important for everyone, and it's an emotion. So they're starting out on a bang with you all. Okay, so when we talk about this is what I do, working for the men's program. That is the Batterers Intervention Program that men who commit IPV, domestic violence, they go to court. If they're arrested, they go to court. The judge or the lawyers will say, hey, you need to take your Batterers Intervention. We are one of 3 around the city. We have Wesley Family and then Renewal. We have groups on the phone, and then we also have groups in person for Batterers Intervention. So we know at the Women's Center and Shelter that not only do we care for the victims, but we also know that the men that are committing the abuse, they need help too. And that's why they do commit abuse against their partner. As far as the educational facilitator. I was one. I think that is one of the best programs we have because we do go into high schools around the city to talk about teen dating violence. Unfortunately, yes, that is a thing. That is a thing, and it's growing, unfortunately. We are getting calls that, hey, can you start in elementary school? Can you come in and talk to our fifth graders? Can you come in and talk to our sixth graders, our seventh graders, and our middle school? So yes, we go to high schools, but we know that these programs are needed in earlier the better. Okay? Because once the guidance counselors are saying, once they get to middle school, it's almost too late. If they go to high school, it's definitely too late. They're already in it. So we want to try to prevent as much as possible, and that's why I hold both those programs dear to my heart. I'm glad I'm able to supervise. Go on. This is a little bit about me. Again, 3+ years, former football player, a long time ago. I hold this work, I guess you could say I'm a survivor. My mother was in an abusive relationship as I was a young man. I have 2 younger sisters, so this work is near and dear to my heart. I experienced it. Every situation is different, but that feeling of hurt and all those feelings attached to domestic violence still come with it. It does not matter what shade of color you are, how much money you make, domestic violence is there. The sad thing about it, music, movies, and it's in our society. Not only in America, but throughout the world too. And also I'll talk about, we're seeing, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot more diversity going. I'm from the DMV? Yeah, I'm from the DMV, so I'm from Northern Virginia. 15, 20 minutes to Fairfax, Virginia, 20 minutes outside of DC, where diversity is everywhere, okay? Come to Pittsburgh, diversity is not all, we're not big on diversity, but it's coming. It's coming. We're starting to see a lot more Spanish-speaking men in our men's division, okay? So, not only, and you have to understand, that's a different culture, okay? Here in America, even though we do have it bad, men, there is punishment for domestic violence IPT. Other cultures, they don't see it that way. So that makes it interesting for us to try to shape them or try to understand, hey, if you put your hands on a woman or a female in America, you have consequences. So that's a tough one, but it's coming. So we're starting to see that, and we're starting to, at Women's Center and Shelter, we have real team, a refugee, immigrant, limited English-speaking program to help these individuals and the victims of it, because it is wrong. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Of course, we have a personal trainer, Muay Thai enthusiast. That's just to keep in shape. First things first. Listen, what I'm going to talk about is emotional. It may hit home, okay? Some of the stuff I talk about, you may be going through yourself. I guarantee you know someone that is going through it, has gone through it. I can guarantee that. So, if you hear something that I'm talking about, I speak about, please excuse yourself. If you have to, get up. If you need to ask questions, please feel free to raise your hand. But I just always, your safety, your emotional energy is always important. Okay, so I usually don't read through my slides, but these statistics are very important, especially if we're coming on a college campus, as well. And on one of my degrees, I just got my master's in psychology degree. I did a research paper on sexual assault and domestic violence on college campuses. Can anybody tell me when is the highest rate of sexual assault on a college campus? The time of year? Anybody know?
Football season.
Oh, very good, yes. Somebody said homecoming? Yeah, homecoming. So, exactly. So right around this time, all right, so you have new freshmen coming in from all over. Let's just take Pitt, for example, okay? Pitt's a big football school, big sports school. So you have kids, you have young women coming from all over, all right? They're away from home, they don't have that family structure, they may want to spread their wings, go to a football game. After that football game, what's always on college campuses, alcohol, right? And this is when it happens, during football season. Most of the time, during home games, right, sexual assault occurs, okay? And so it was astonishing to me. When I got into this work, doing these stats, 1 in 4 women, 1 in 4 women. Understand the statistics, the numbers I show you, that's just what reports. That's just what reports. So these numbers, you could probably say they're either higher or you may say 1 in 3. That's just what reports. Okay? Women are the greatest wit. That's your college age female right there. That is your college age female. You're talking about ruining someone's life at a young age. Okay? Said they experience sexual assault during school where they're going to get their college education to better themselves, and they get set back again. So this is an area that we have to discuss. This is why I don't mind. I love doing these things. We have to get this information out there. Every day, 3 women are murdered by their partner. Okay? We'll talk about, now on this one, because due to time, but we'll talk about cycle of violence. Right? When you hear on the news that a woman was murdered, a wife was murdered due to domestic violence, that's not the first time that has happened. Right? That's the end of it. Maybe she was trying to leave. Maybe she got tired of it. Maybe his antics did not work. Now, you will hear me use a lot of male to female violence just because that's what the statistics say. But same-sex marriages, LGBTQ community, those percentages are even higher. They're even higher. But what we hear about is the most damaging. I won't say the most damaging, but what we hear about and what's in front of you is women being beat by men. So, what you hear about on the news, there has been a cycle of violence going on for years. It could have started with silent treatment. She did something that he may not have liked, or communication or mistrust was there, give you silent treatment. That's the first one. He got over it, bought her some flowers. Hey, I'm sorry, won't do that again. Until the next. Until the next. Now those gifts don't work when she's tired of it. The most dangerous time for a victim to, in a domestic violence relationship, I'm sorry, I stay by the mic, is right before they leave, they're thinking about leaving, or when they have left. Right? So, before I go on, you'll hear about this stuff. And the reason why I'm here and we like to give this information is if you're not going through it, you know someone who is. So, you may have friends like, oh, domestic violence is going on. Oh, I need to get her out of that situation. Yes, you do, but pump your brakes because safety is first. If the abuser thinks that you're trying to help her get away from his power and control, you are in danger as well. You are in danger as well. Male or female. Male or female. We'll talk about the definition real quick. But that's number one. Your safety is number one. And also, you have to understand that that victim is the bus driver. That women's center and shelter, when they come, they're running. They're leaving that situation. We safety plan with them. We don't do anything for them. We lay out here. These are your options. These are the steps you have to take. If we do it for you, then it's not going to do it. Then usually they end up back. They have to do it for you. You can't make someone leave that abusive relationship. You can help, give them resources, be there to listen, empathy. You can help them, but I would say also, hey, be careful. Just be careful. Okay? Like I said, LGBTQ plus, that demographic, I mean, it's high. Percentages are high of domestic violence. Bisexual identifying individuals is the highest. You wouldn't think that, but yeah, I think it happens. Bisexual. Like I said before, it doesn't matter what you look like, how much money you make. If you don't make as much money, you may end up in a shelter, or you may put it out, more people will know. The more money you make, what are you trying to hide? What do you see on Facebook? You see everybody happy. I know it for myself. I've seen women that I've talked to that complain about their husband. The next day, they take a family photo and everybody's happy. So everybody, like you said, like we'll talk about, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You really don't. Just because they live in the shady side doesn't mean domestic violence is not going on. Okay? We have women, we have CEOs that have come and use our shelter. We've had recently a CEO of a major corporation here in Pittsburgh in our shelter. Okay? So, like I said, it doesn't matter if we're talking about finances. If the finances are higher, the abuse may be even worse because they can cover it up. And they probably have influence. Okay? They probably have influence. This was a stat that I was taken back by when I learned of it, just because of how high it is that the amount of people that said that they had been abused, and then the amount of people that don't know what to do on how to help. Okay, that could be scared of their own safety, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to do, who to call, don't want to get involved. That's all. We all understand that. We all understand that. This is the type of events that we were trying to get out. Before I go on, it's an African American audience. African American women, your number one health concern is domestic violence. Your number one health concern. I wish I had it up on my slide. What is that? 92% of all African American women have experienced at some point in their life some type of sexual assault. You guys die at a rate of 9 out of 10. You know you're the victim, that the African American woman victim that has been murdered from a sexual assault or IPV has known their killer. And it's usually within their race. The implications on domestic violence for African American women are at an all-time high. Okay? What's sad is, it's like, I've read these stats and I say this, if I'm walking down the street and I see an African American woman, I speak, she doesn't speak to me, I don't take it personally. Because what these statistics say is that she has probably gone through a whole lot in her life. That's what the statistics say. So, which leads to more stress, more health implications, right? Cancer, stuff. So, African American women, you are at an altar. Not only are you getting abused by your own kind, by what is self-defeating too, but also by Caucasians. Then also in the workplace, okay? You're being taken advantage all over the place. It's sad to say, but that is the society we live in. So you definitely have to take care of yourself. You definitely have to be aware of healthy relationships, toxic signals, red flags in your relationships. It's sad. That's what it is. It's statistics. We have to change this. We have to change this narrative, okay? What is an unhealthy relationship? Unhealthy relationships are based in power and control. I will repeat that over and over again. Power and control is what the abuser wants over their victim. Power and control. It's not equality or respect. When we talk about dating abuse. Dating abuse is a pattern of destructive behaviors used to exert, again, say it with me, power and control. Okay? Over another dating partner. While we define dating violence as a pattern, that doesn't mean the first instance of abuse is not dating violence. It just recognizes that dating violence usually involves a series of abusive behaviors over a course of time. What does that mean? So I'll give you an example. When I was younger, like I said, I came from a domestic violence household. My mother's abuser at the time, he yelled a lot, okay? He yelled, very verbal abuse. So in middle school, early in high school, if I was dating a female and I got upset, I would just give her silent treatment, right? For me, because I don't want to say anything that's going to hurt her feelings, okay? It was not to use power and control. I don't think so, okay? Until I came to work here, I knew that that's abuse. Silent treatment is abuse. Why? I'm controlling the communication. I cut it off. Now, which is leaving her not knowing what she did to bother me. And it could be nothing. It could be just a lack of communication. So now, if we're in a relationship, and like I said, cycle of violence is keep going, now I'm giving her silent treatment for 2 days, now what? Now she's walking on eggshells. That's psychological abuse, emotional abuse, and it all leads to that. So when we're saying this, I didn't know that. I didn't think I was using it for power and control, but silent treatment can be used for power and control. It's just as little as that. We'll talk about finance. We'll go to the power and control wheel here pretty soon. But it's power and control. Why do victims get murdered? Is because that abuser has lost power and control over the victim. Okay? What is the famous words they'll say? You'll live, you won't live without me. You won't live, you won't love anybody but me. I can't live without you. You'll be with someone over my dead body, stuff like that. That's power and control. That's power and control. So yeah, everybody's old enough. Well, maybe not everybody. Know O.J. Simpson? All right. Read into it. You read into it. His domestic violence was going on for years. Power and control. Power and control. When he lost that power and control, on top of that narcissism. So now, hey, allegedly, it's allegedly, right? It's allegedly. But whether he did that or not, he was still domestic. He was abusive, and that's on the record. But still, that's what happened. Okay. Power control wheel. This is what we use in BIT program. There's all kinds of power control wheel. There's the teenager power control wheel. There's a power control wheel for LGBTQ+. It all pretty much reads the same, okay? And as you can see on the outside, you see physical violence. The hub in the middle is what? There we go. That's where this all stems from, is power and control. We'll go through each one of these, but as you can see, we'll walk through how the abuser will use each one of these for power control. When they don't get this, when they're out of all this, on the outside, what do you see? Physical violence, sexual violence. All right? But it starts with power control. Intimidation. Okay? How can someone use, or how can an abuser use intimidation over the victim? Go ahead, anybody.
Being aggressive.
Being aggressive. So, if I'm 300 pounds and my victim is small, 120 pounds, can I use my size as intimidation? That is pretty much what men do, the last resort. Right? They can't abuse you emotionally or verbally, psychologically, financially. What can men always revolve back to? It's the physical. It's physical violence. Okay? So intimidation. Intimidation could be, you can use money as intimidation. You can use status. I can use male privilege. I think one of these is male privilege. Okay? That's intimidation. We can use your race. Use race as intimidation. Okay? African-American woman is with a white male, let's say he's a doctor or a judge, or police officer, he's committing abuse against her, what can he say? It's my word against yours. Who do you think they're gonna do? We live in Pittsburgh, too. So think about that. Okay? Who do you think they're gonna take the word for? Okay? I'll go on this. African-American victims, domestic violence victims, when I say it's bad, okay? Because not only, let's say, African-American woman does everything she's supposed to do, gets a PFA, calls the cops, gets the abuser locked up, she has to tell her story over and over in front of the judge. The judge, white man, looks at African-American woman, and what is the vision of African-American woman? Strong black African-American woman. Oh, I don't see any marks on you. You don't have any. And that, my friends, goes on for real. That happens. Oh, can't see marks on you. No, I'm not gonna grant you this PFA. Older Caucasian woman comes in, files a PFA, saying that her husband yelled at her. The judge grants her that. So, African-American women, you're defeated. You're defeated. Not only are you getting defeated at home or by the person you love, and you've been taught, the Women's Center has told you what to do. Get a PFA, find a lawyer, get some help, get advocacy. You go down to the court, and the judge does not rule in your favor. Okay? It's real out there. It's real. Okay, emotional abuse.
Excuse me.
Yes, yes, sir.
Let's stay on the, back on that topic,
Yeah.
because for years, here in Pittsburgh, we've heard that over and over. Why do you think the legal system is failing these women?
First of all, you're from Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know the race is an issue. Why they're doing that, in the men's program, we have a waiting list for 6 months. That is horrible. That's terrible. We have a waiting list for batterers. Now, some of these judges are just throwing men in. Heck, they may need anger management. They may need psychological services. Hey, go to BIP, and you can be out of here. Why does that happen for women, and especially African American women? That's who your judges are.
And they're still following the law? I mean, the law is not specific enough to handle that.
That's right. And that's the set. We have a team of lawyers at Women's Center Shelter that advocate, or they'll go to, for a victim of domestic violence, they'll show up at court, they'll work on cases, and that's what we have. It's almost like, hey, what judge are we getting? What judge are you going to get when you go down there and file that PFA? That's how sad it is. It really is. Now, and the problem is that you have some women, men filing false claims. And then, so, like I said, women abuse men as well in relationships as well, okay? Let's say the man wants to get a PFA, goes down to get a PFA, the woman knows that he's doing that, she'll go down to get a PFA. Or it works vice versa. So if you're sitting in there, who is the judge supposed to believe? Who's the judge supposed to believe? He's going to believe the woman if the man will. That's the problem. Or if the man has some kind of connection, or if he, depending on how much money he makes, where he lives at, all right? What neighborhood he lives at, they're prominent, and they can afford a lawyer. It's not because these court-appointed lawyers, they're not gonna work with them.
But aren't some of those judges also abusers? And so,
Thank you. right?
And some of them who make the laws are abusive, so they don't want to be bit by their own.
And that's the sad reality. That is the sad. You got police officers that are abusers. Who shows up? When you call, the first person that shows up. That's where the judge and the lawyers are getting all their information. So we do have a training program for cops when they go on to domestic violence cases. Actually, the city was, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they wanted to send an advocate to domestic violence calls, because we know you send white police officers into a black neighborhood for domestic violence, number one. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna show up nonchalant, right? They're gonna show up nonchalant, okay? And then I talk to the men who are pushed into our program, and you hear with it, man, this cop did this, he said this never happened. Now, are they BSing me? Maybe, but I hear too much to be BSing. I hear too much. And I just learned that the police officers can say, oh, he needs to go to bed. Yeah, I heard that. I just had an individual tell me that. No, the cop was in the courtroom saying, he should go to bed. So again, you asked your question, I don't know if I answered it, but that's the way it's going. The system is broken. And it's sad to say that we're on the lower end. If you're African American, you have some tint to your skin, you're on the lower end of that. Especially in Pittsburgh, unfortunately. But, I mean, anything change in Pittsburgh, it's slow. It's slow. But we're trying to get there. Yeah, unfortunately. So, it's all about, we can help women get out of these, or be warned, or see what you're getting into before you get into the relationships. Because they cost you. Not only they cost you, if you have kids in it, what do you do to the children? I had these men in my BIT program. They think about themselves, I'm just doing, no, man, that's your children. You have children. They see, we don't show the children. No, understand, children can understand energy between the two. I got friends in Cranberry. I haven't seen his wife and him hug or kiss in over 5 years. They're not happy. Why are you staying in that relationship? All for the children. You don't think your children can't see what's going on between them? Now you're raising a daughter to never show affection to her husband. You're raising a son to never show affection to his wife. Off topic. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it. Emotional abuse. I believe all abuses in domestic violence, IPV, lead to emotional abuse. Financial, physical, sexual. Let me see, stalking. Okay? They all lead to psychological and emotional abuse. I usually have on one of my slides, there's a meme that says, this young woman, I was in the relationship for so many years, and I did not know that he was emotionally abusing me, right? With physical abuse, you leave a mark, could be a black eye, a bruise, scrapes around the neck, broken arm. That stuff heals, right? Even though it's bad. But the emotional damage on that, because who wants to go through that anymore? So now what the victim's doing, walking around on eggshells, so that leads to emotional abuse. And imagine having to live with that every day. Every day you go home, or you have to go home. Now, prime example, it's down at DHS when I first started giving this DV 101. One lady said, I have a best friend for over 20 years. I've worked with her for 20 years. I did not know she was going through a domestic violence situation. We sat next to each other in a cubicle until she walked into the office in August with a terminal. And she said, what are you doing? Her best friend said, I can't hide it. So it goes on. That emotional abuse, you're trying to hide it from work. You don't want to show your kids. All of that takes its toll. It takes its toll. It's just, when we talk about domestic violence, we first think of physical. It's so much more. It really is so much more. Then if you're talking about if an abuser is using financial abuse over you, you take that to a whole new level. A whole new level. Because now you rely on that person to eat, for food, for water. If your kids have medication, insurance, it goes down to a deep, deep hole. Isolation, that's what abusers do. They want to isolate. They want to get their victim away from any help that the victim may get, okay? If you start seeing this is a red flag, all right? Prime example for me, I'm from the DC area, I'm around the city. My mom's abuser moved us 45 minutes out into the boondocks, out into the woods. Takes cops 15, 20 minutes to get to our house if you call 911. Now, going, I hated it because you're out there, but until I got, well, that's isolation. That's exactly what he wanted. That's exactly, because he knew my father. He knew my father. And my father knew what he was doing, it would have been over. So, hey, we're going to move out. We don't want, the abuser does not want any influence over that victim. They want what? Power and control of everything. Denial, blame, and minimization. If you see or hear this out in public, you can only imagine what goes on behind closed doors. If you're out with friends and you know, we'll just use a man and a woman in this example. Oh man, Eric, he's an ass. He's an ass. All right, to her, look how he treats her. If he's doing that in public, you can only imagine what's going on behind closed doors. Minimize, oh yeah, Eric pushed me. Oh, what's that bruise on you? Oh, Eric got a little rough. Oh, I didn't do that. Minimize. Anybody know what gaslighting is? You ever heard of gaslighting? That word is starting to come up. If you don't, gaslighting is basically making the other individual, or if it's your partner, like they're crazy. Okay? Prime example, I worked with a young lady when I was the education facilitator, and she told me, she said, hey, or she would give presentations and tell team data. She would say, hey, it takes 7 times for a victim to lose. This is true, and that is the average, 7 times. Okay? She was like, my boyfriend lived in Brooklyn, New York, lived in a condo. I would lock the door every night. I would get up and he would yell at me and call me stupid because the door wasn't locked. And she was like, I know I locked the door. He would get up before her and unlock the door to make her think that she's crazy. That's power and control. Now, that's just the door. Yeah. 7 times to leave an abusive relationship. That's an average. The average for one victim to try to leave an abusive relationship is 7 times. 7 times. Do you understand? We all have to understand the victim may love their abuser. They don't choose to be abused. Okay? They still love this person. They just don't want to be abused. Right? And as we said, we usually say the person that uses abuse, because we like to be trauma informed. We say that it's not called to label that person an abuser, just because that person that uses an abuse, he's got some issues, or they have issues that need to be dealt with. That's why they're using some kind of an abuse. That's why. Whether it be physical or not. Okay? You have to understand it's just not physical. Physical maybe come down the line. But that emotional, that psychological, saying denial, blame, and minimization goes right into that. Oh, we say using shit. This is a big one. This can go, this is one of the ones that women and men use against each other. Right? Women and men use this against each other more, and then you get the courts involved, you get CYS involved, you're in trouble. I have a man in my group right now. That's what he's doing. This is what he's doing. Yep. But you get CYS involved, but people will use because why? That's an emotional attachment to your kids, right? Man or female. but people will use. An abuser's gonna use whatever they can use for manipulation, that's what they will use. If you like coffee, you like that Dunkin' Donuts coffee so much, you gotta have it, an abuser will use it. Oh, you drink that every morning? What if they put something in there every morning? It's that simple, that's what happens. I watch a lot of Dateline too. I cut myself back though. Phew. I'm in the work and I'm watching the work. And that's it. We got shows on domestic violence. We got a whole, Dateline is a whole series, a whole TV program on 98% of those shows are domestic violence. Serious. 48 hours, 2020, it's all on domestic violence. It is. It's sad, but it's true. Use of social privilege, societal privilege, again, white men, African American. So if I go in and let's say I committed abuse, you see all my degrees, okay? All those degrees may say, oh yeah, he's educated, he's this, he's that. That doesn't mean anything. But we go down to the courthouse, okay? Judge sees that. Let's say my partner is a nurse or something that women are supposed to do, okay? Right? That's stereotypical. Right? Oh, this gentleman's educated. I'm not going to believe that he has put his hands on me. Right? Societal privilege. Doctor, white male doctor, okay? Who's the judge going to believe? Who's the police going to believe when they show up? Right? Even if the victim has, you see it, you hear about it. Even if the victim has marks on him. Live in Shady Side, has a Range Rover, BMW in the driveway, oh, there's no way domestic violence goes on here. Right? Domestic violence may be in a form of financial abuse there, emotional abuse, right? May not be physical. But that emotional, financial abuse, you hold your victim hostage, especially for finances. You'll hear, where's she gonna go? She has no family. And that's what you'll see. Victims or abusers will try to stick up. She has no family, she has nobody's gonna, she has no friends. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. It's all mine. Power and control. Economic abuse, we just talked about that. Financial abuse, that's what it is. Oh, a lot of women, a lot of people stay in that relationship. They can deal with the little, you know, just violent around the holidays because it's stressful and stuff. He drinks a lot, okay? Or they drink a lot. But I got a pink Range Rover sitting down that driveway. Look at this beautiful house. I don't have to work. My kids are taken care of for. I got black cards. So I'll take that little bit of abuse. I'll take, doesn't even have to be physical. I'll take that financial, emotional abuse. I'll let him talk to me. I know he's going to Las Vegas. I know what he does in Las Vegas. But that's fine. That's what happens, especially with economic abuse. Coercion and threats. At the Women's Center and Shelter, we have a pet facility, a pet, because we know abusers will threaten pets. What are you emotionally attached to? What are humans emotionally attached to? Even veterinarians know this, right? That's why it's so expensive to get anything done with your pet. It's because they know people love their pets like they love their child. They don't, and a pet can't tell you what's wrong. All you can do is sense it. Oh, there's something wrong, I gotta take it to the vet. They know that. Those veterinarians will have that money, but that's your pet. Same thing, an abuser will use. He'll use manipulation. We have it. We've heard stories where they'll use, okay, if you leave me, your cat will be in that oven when you get back. Your pet rabbit, snake, I'll kill them all, cut it open, leave heads, leave body parts everywhere. This is what they will do. They will, and so that's why the Women's Center and Shelter we have the pet station because we know victims won't leave their pets if the abuser physically. They may not have to. They may say, if I leave, he's going, or they are going to physically harm my pet, or give it away. So that's why we have that. Doesn't matter, coercion, I'll tell you, in the LGBTQ situation, if the partner or one of the partners is not out, I'll tell your family that you're gay. And use that manipulation, doesn't matter. Whatever they can find, they'll use it. So that's the power and control wheel, okay? You can Google that if you want it. You can always just Google power and control wheel. It's very self-explanatory. It's a very good tool we use. And all relationships are on a spectrum. As you can see, healthy, good communication, trust, honesty, equality. We're about to go through all these. But yeah, as you can see, it's on a spectrum, okay? So, a healthy relationship, all right, communication, has to have communication. In anything you do, we have to have communication. Even in a work spot, believe me, I do. Right? Being a supervisor, you gotta have communication. If you ain't got communication, that's hard. That's hard. It's even hard to have trust. Being respectful, all right, trusting, being honest, have to be honest, equal, and enjoy your personal space, which I think is left out. Even if you're in a relationship, it's okay for you all to have a day to yourself, okay? You don't have to be all up on top of each other. But enjoying that personal space, this is where you'll find maybe a red flag, okay? Where if you're in a situation, or if you know someone in a situation and they want some personal space and their partner is like, why are you doing that? And doesn't want to give that up, that could be a red flag. Okay? Making consensual sexual decisions is a healthy relationship. That goes along with healthy relationships. What an unhealthy relationship look like? Not communicating. Being disrespectful, all right? And it could be two, two wrongs don't make a right, but hey, we can have people come back, oh, you're not gonna respect me, I'm not gonna respect you. Depending on where you're from, that's how you're raised, that's how I'm raised. You can't respect, I don't respect you. You give them that attitude like that, so two wrongs don't make a right either. Okay? Feeling smothered. Like I said, space, personal space. So being dishonest, not trusting. If there's a suspicion, there you go. They're constantly, and we'll check this out, they're constantly looking at your phone or wanting to know your password or constantly who you texting, just stuff like that. I got 4 minutes, see? And then pressuring the other into sexual activity. Okay? Abusive relationships communicates abusively, all right? Putting their partner down, treating them like they're not good enough, they're not smart enough. Not good enough. Or what I see is, and it's disheartening too, is let's say the woman has something to say, but the man will be like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's shock talk. Putting the woman down, putting the other person down. Like their opinion doesn't matter, or their points are not valid. Disrespectful through abuse. Talking about isolating the partner, right? Isolating, whether that could be physically or that could be social media wise, right? Hey, you stop going to that church, come to my church. Stop going to that gym, come to my gym. Okay? Stuff like that. Makes false accusations. Suspects the partner flirting, cheating, okay? It's all to use for manipulation. Minimizes abuse, we talked about that. Controls the other part and forces sexual activity. Right? That's an abuse. Red flags, talked about this, checking your cell phone or email without permission. All right, we have that. We have with these men that come in, we have that going on. Like I said, these men are in bed, but it doesn't mean that their victim doesn't have issues too, and they're combining in that toxic relationship. All right. Putting you down, jealousy, insecurity. And a lot of men I talk to, they don't know that they're insecure. They think they're secure, but they don't know their actions of what they're doing. Hey, man, that makes you insecure. What, really? Yeah, that makes, they just don't know. And you don't know. I tell, and just like with teens, if you are brought up in a household where you see, where you're brought up and you're programmed to see your dad, and we've had this, your dad, excuse my language, but the man of the house called the woman of the house, refer to her as bitch every time. Hey, bitch, give me a drink. Bitch, you ready to go? Now, I don't know if they had children, but that was one of the men and one of the bitch was. If they did, Lord have mercy. If they did, still, you know. But if a child is brought up into that, and they see, well, my mother still loves my dad, even though that he talks to her, maybe puts his hands on her once in a while. So that is what young women may be looking for in a partner. Vice versa. A guy, oh, my dad talks to my mom like that, so that's how I'm going to talk to my female. I'm not going to have a female unless she lets me talk to her like that, right? Because that's what they see at home. I see you shaking your head, I know. I'm telling you, it's tough, right? It's tough. And when I say what you hear in these high schools, whew, it's a different world out there. Explosive temper, all right? Monopolizing your time, again, making false accusations, mood swings. Like I said, these are red flags. It's just to pay attention to. Not saying that every time they put you down one time, okay, but if you start to see that, or you hearing your friends or other relationships, yeah. Possessiveness, telling you what to do, pressuring or forcing you to perform sexual acts, right? Understand that sex plays a big role in abuse. Okay? Green flags doesn't require you to check in or need to know where you're at. Constantly honest, doesn't pressure you to do anything you don't want to do, doesn't accuse you of stuff. It's just communication. You're not constantly hearing that. And if you know what a healthy relationship is, you damn sure will know what an unhealthy relationship is, because they just don't coexist. Okay? With the Women's Center and Shelter, these are great websites about teen dating violence in general, domestic violence. Here's our hotline. Tamara, she'll have I'll send her this if anybody would like this. There's also, I left stuff out on the table for you that has all our access. But this is what we do at the Women's Center and Shelter. Like I discussed, safety plan, shelter. We do a court-appointed counseling. We have a child center there. We do work with LGBTQ+. We used to have a program. We didn't get it funded, so we use these 3 programs in the city. And then we help if a victim wants to get a PFA, we have advocates down there. I think it's every Tuesday, Friday, whatever the PFA day is, to help them walk through that. Okay. So what we have, as you can see, Hotline Shelter Wellness Center volunteer program. We do have a medical advocate, Ms. Janice, travels around the whole city, and whatever a victim may need, gynecologist, if she's sick, dental appointments, Ms. Janice will help, or knows resources to get them. Like I said, that's the real team, that's the refugee, immigrant, and limited speaking, because I told you diversity is starting to kick up here. talked about Children's Center, and then the men's bit, that's the program I run. These are resources, 24-hour hotline. Before COVID, our text line was 24 hours, but after, now it's just 9 to 5. That's our legal. Bright Sky app is an app you can download. This will be the last thing. Yeah. Let's download. And it shows up as a weather app, okay? And this is for victims or friends of victims. So, and on that app, it'll show you all the domestic violence places around where you're at, what you can do, hotlines, gives you tips, it gives friends tips on how to help victims. So, and it shows up as a weather app. So, if the abuser scrolls through the phone or is looking, they're gonna go right past, usually go right past. And that, we just help them develop this, and it's taken off. Bright Sky app, yep. And there's information up on that table. And I'm sorry, 2 minutes over there. I'm a bulldog lover, so. But thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here. It's very important, very important.